If you're watching this video, more than likely, you are studying for your IELTS exam. While we do not specialize in IELTS, we do have resources.
Today, within our private community, we welcomed Vicky as an expert in her field, and she is just so inspiring. Vicky is an incredible entrepreneur, a strong woman, and an IELTS expert. She'll be sharing her journey and her valuable perspective on what it takes to pass the IELTS exam.
Before we dive in, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more English tips that will truly help you achieve your goals. Now let's get started with Vicky. So, Vicky, thank you so much for coming in today. We really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Now, some of our viewers know who we are, and obviously your viewers know who you are. But what qualifies you to be giving advice in IELTS? Like, what makes you qualified to be talking about this?
Okay, so for IELTS, I have got an experience since 2009 up until now. So it has been about, I would say 15 years that, when I started doing my IELTS, it was 2009. And throughout these 15 years, I did IELTS for 9 times.
Nine
Um,
times.
9 times, yes.
So
Wow.
you've
I have
probably seen a lot of changes then.
absolutely. So it's totally different what we did in 2009 and comparing that with what we are doing now. So, like there are Cambridge series of books that we need to practice. And some of the books in the early editions, like 1, 2, 3, 4, up until 7, I would say as a IELTS teacher, it is not relevant anymore. So I tell my students to start practicing from the book 8 up until 19.
That's smart.
Yes. So all these changes are happening, and I've been keep on track with that by sitting for it again and again. Yeah.
So book 8 and above, that's where you say start with book 8.
Yes, book 8 and above. So
Awesome.
now there's book 19. The latest one is book 19.
Oh, wow.
So if you've got a book 6 or book 7, you are studying old IELTS.
Yes, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. We don't need those
People
books.
don't know. Sometimes most of the people don't know about that when they are about to start, doing IELTS. And then they are like very pumped in the beginning. And then, okay, we're going to start off with number 1. It's wrong. So you have to start with number 8.
Number
Yes.
8. So if
Wow.
you're listening, start with number 8. Now,
So it sounds like you stay up to date for your students.
Yes.
I love
yes.
that. I love that.
I am kind of curious, what is your story with IELTS? Obviously, you took it 9 times. Why did you take it 9 times?
So the first time, of course, for me to, study abroad. So I was studying, as you can see, in Sydney. So for that, I need IELTS for myself. So I started off in 2009, and my first band score was 7.5. And that was the lowest band score, in all the 9 times. So in all the 9 times, I get 7.5 and above. So 7.5, 5, 8, and 8.5. So the story behind that is that actually I had a plan to migrate in Australia, and it requires me to do IELTS again and again. And at that time we don't have what we call one skill retake. So sometimes if I focus too much on writing, like the highest mark that they ask us to get the highest point, let's say, because immigration, they have got point system.
Right.
So if you have superior English, you got 20 points. If you have like proficient English, you get 10 points, right? So for me, it's like I was trying for this superior English, and I have been taking the test since. But then what happened is that after I sat for about like 3, 4, 5 times, then like my scores becoming like band 9 in listening and reading, and then the overall band score of 8.5. And then like my friends started asking me, it's actually started from my friends, like, oh, okay, why don't you teach IELTS to us first, right? Like explain it to us. And like that's how it all started.
So
I love that.
you never went in with the intention to be an IELTS teacher?
No, as you can see, my background, my degree is professional accounting from
Yeah.
Macquarie University. So it's totally different from, being an IELTS teacher.
Yeah.
So, and firstly for migration purpose, right? But then because I have my parents here in Myanmar, so, I decided to come back in 2016. So, and then I started teaching as I got 8.5, and then my first asked me to teach, and this was starting off with like two students, and then it grows bigger and bigger throughout the 7 years. It has been 7 years because I started teaching IELTS in 2017, and surprisingly in August, so this month is actually my 7th anniversary for teaching
Wow.
IELTS.
That is incredible. So, and just going back a little bit, you mentioned your lowest score was about 7.5.
Yes.
And I'm noticing something is that a lot of people we speak to, their goal is 7 or higher. A lot of people say my goal is a 7.5 band. And so the fact alone that your lowest score was their goal says a lot. And I'm really excited to know like what that secret sauce was, what your big secret was for it. And I know that it's probably not even a secret, right? It's probably just you have developed a strategy, and it's a proven strategy that works, which is amazing. I love that.
If
So yes.
just really quick, if I may ask, what is the average score of your student? Like, what does the average Vicky student score?
7.
Seven.
Actually 7.5, because there are only a few people who got 6.5 and lower.
Mm.
So most of my students who sat for the test got 7, and I have got because I lost count of my students, and I started counting in 2022, which is pretty recent.
That,
So I didn't count like the before, my high achievers, but since 2022 at the end up until now, I've got like about five 8.5 students,
wow.
and one 5.8.5 students, and about 28 and 25 7.5, and then like probably 35, they're like 7.
Wow.
That's
Yes.
incredible. And I know that a lot of jobs, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of jobs in
And
Western
scholarships.
countries and scholarships require a 7 or higher. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Mhm.
So the IELTS is like, if they have it, it is like opening the doors to everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah, pretty
key.
much. It's the key. It's the key.
I love that. You know your high IELTS band score is or the higher it is, the more doors it will open.
Absolutely.
Open. Yeah, that's correct. That's
I love
correct.
that.
And so, going just with like the beginning here, I'm curious, in your opinion, what is the biggest mistake that a student taking the IELTS will make that can destroy their score?
I would say being not consistent,
Mm.
like don't have a consistency,
Mhm.
and also I would say another thing would be, because there are a lot of IELTS resources out there, and they're all good. And then I would say that IELTS is actually correct in a lot of ways, but you need to find the right way which is suitable for you.
Yeah.
Mm.
And for me, as a teacher and as a student who is in touch with IELTS for 15 years and teaching IELTS for 7 years, I still have to watch a lot of webinars by British Council, and also IDP IELTS, and all the webinars, emails, like newsletters. I have to update it myself with that. And also I have been looking around, the browsing around the internet as well, and then what will be the best resource for my students. So I have to keep updating myself too, to be
Yeah.
able to teach. And I would say the over here in Myanmar at the moment, the market situation is like now is very competitive because people who set for IELTS once and they just become a tutor, afterwards. So there are a lot of people who are teaching IELTS with the experience of with the one-time IELTS experience. So
okay.
like you got to find, I mean, like, they're good, they get good scores, but I guess in terms of the experience wise, there are a lot of things like funny stories, funny moments, and also like big lessons learned. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do this again.
Right.
So it's actually I tell my students and every time like the insider tips, because there are very very like famous IELTS institution and stuff. But as far as I know, some of them, I mean, some of them, they actually learn how to teach IELTS. Like they get certificates of how to teach IELTS from London, from the international house and stuff. But they didn't take the tests and they teach.
So
I think
they never have taken that test that they're teaching to their
they
students.
teach the test because they got the certificate from. But honestly, I never had the experience. I mean, I never had the certificate of teaching IELTS. It's the way that I teach is all based on my experience.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, oh, sorry, go ahead, Taylor.
I was going to say, this is why we reached out to you as well. We don't teach IELTS, but because we are native speakers, we tend to have a lot of people who come to us because they need help with their IELTS exam. And I have to say, I have resources, however, and I know about the IELTS exam. I do not have that firsthand experience. And when you are looking for help, you want to go to the person who has the most experience, right? Not just the highest degree.
Yeah.
And you, because you have this experience, you are able to give those insider tips, things that actually helped you, and it does work. And I love that.
I was curious, going back to the consistency. So Vicky, you were saying that the biggest mistake that people make is inconsistency. Can you give an example of what you mean by inconsistent? Like, is this with studying, with speaking? What do they have to be consistent with?
I would say the input that they put it in towards the IELTS preparation. So, like when people started doing IELTS, they're all very pumped up. And then, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to finish this. And then, for me, it's like I know the workload, and then I consistently give them the workload that they can digest. So, for example, like my classes are on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And for example, let's say I teach, one topic for Monday, let's say the map, and I tell them to write one map before they come to my another class where I will teach the process. But students tend to do everything all together at the end, right?
So unfocused.
Unfocused. And also, in IELTS, there are like different types, especially in writing, right? And a lot of people are afraid of writing. And for me, I teach one type one day so that they can all absorb that one time. But if you don't use that tips and tricks and then produce, because it's the production skills, it's not receptive skills like listening and reading. So if you don't write, you won't get it. If you just listen, you won't get it. So the people, the students who put in effort, finishing homework that I gave it to them, very digestible because, with chunks by chunks, not like the whole thing. Right. So if the students who have consistency doing that tend to have higher marks because it's like very, confusing. For example, discussion essay, argumentative essay, agree or disagree, and discuss both sides of the views and give your opinion. This seems quite similar, but they're not the same.
Right. Yeah.
So I teach all the differences between them, how to write, how to paragraph, everything. But then if they put it towards at the end and then not doing the homework like regularly the way that I gave it to them, then they just mix it all up. And
Right.
then there's no use. I mean, it's just a waste of me teaching them one day by day, because most of the IELTS teacher, they tend to teach everything, like task 1, task 2. For me, it's like I put it, one by one. I structure it in a way. So if
It's
they
step by
follow that
step.
pattern, step by step, yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
I love that so much. And I love that you put it in the, I forgot what you said the other one, but you mentioned production skills.
Yes.
I love
So
that you put it that way because they're creating something from their mind, right?
So we have in English, we have, I mean, in all the languages, right? We have receptive skills and productive skills.
Yeah.
So receptive skills are like when you
Taking
get
it
it,
in.
like listening
Mhm.
and listening and reading. They are receptive skills. You're putting the information in, and most of the people tend to get high marks of that.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to produce anything. You just need to comprehend. Like you just need to have that understanding of that. Like getting in the information.
Mhm.
And that's why. And also another thing is, for the receptive skills, like the examiners cannot put subjectivity in their marking. So that's why if you can, get 40 out of 40, band 9, no one can reduce that mark for you.
Yeah.
But then for writing and speaking, because it's a productive skill, there are a lot of examiners subjectivity. I'm not saying that they are all like standardized, but of course, with the mood of the examiner as well, and then
Right.
how they
Yeah.
think, how what is the impression of that, it all counts.
Yeah.
So for that, it's very hard to get full marks. I would say band 9. It's extremely hard. I'm still trying. I'm gonna sit for 10 times.
And the overall 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Hopefully.
very interesting that you bring that up, that it's not just subject to your skills, but also subject to how well the individual person understands you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I totally had an eye-opening moment when you mentioned the receptive versus production. I've never looked at it like this. Of
Yep.
course, I have never taken the IELTS exam. I just speak English. That's it. And so I was one of the lucky ones who just grew up with it. But I also had a question of going back also on that consistency. I have heard a tip, and please tell our listeners if this is true or not. We have a lot of people who don't know whether they should study American English or British English when it comes to taking IELTS, because it is technically a British exam. I'm curious. What I've heard is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect your score if you choose American English or British English. What matters is that you remain consistent. You pick one and you stick with it. Is this true or false?
It is true. It is true.
true.
So, and also to bring up with the speaking, the accent is not considered. I mean, considered in the marking criteria. So you don't have to worry about the accent as long as you can pronounce it well, right? So, yeah, it is all about consistency, especially in, I guess, writing. That's important, because, for example, I always tell my students how to be consistent, right? It's just little things. For example, like organization and organization. If you, for me, it's like I choose British British side.
Yeah.
So and then like honor, labor. So if you choose British,
OU.
you put OU. Yes, that's the thing. So like you don't mix up those two. So it's good that if you start learning, one thing that will actually makes your life very easy.
Right.
Because people tend to like going here and there, like British English, American English and stuff. But for me, I know both, but my default is actually British.
Yeah, and it aligns with your goals too. You could say if you plan to move to Canada, maybe try the British way. If you plan to move to the US, go with the American way, and I think as long as you align it with your goals.
If you could give us just one tiny activity that each person could do for speaking, listening, writing, What would be those tiny activities that someone could do on their own practice time to make that skill better?
Speaking on all four of them. Or
So yeah, so like what can someone do, for example, to just improve their speaking if they're studying alone?
yes, I would recommend the apps. The first one is speaking episode, and that's why we meet.
Yes, episode in. I
Yes,
loved that.
yes.
I love that
And
one.
actually, I recommend my students to use that because they're
We do
quite,
too.
yeah, they're quite
Episode in,
reluctant.
send us money. Sorry, Vicky, go ahead.
Yeah. So actually, one of my students is now become a, what is it, community welcomer.
Hmm.
She got the role, so she got recruited by episode. One
Oh,
of my
that is
students.
That's really
incredible.
cool.
Yes. So because I told her to use that, and then she kind of get recruited.
And
You're
for
like,
for
Yeah.
those of you who do not know, Episode In is a website that you can use to have a quick 7-minute conversation with a random stranger who is also learning English. And this is a great way to improve your cultural outlook and to practice your speaking.
yeah, and it's
That's how we
great
met.
for small talk. Yeah, it's how we met Vicky.
Yes.
It's amazing for practicing your small talk, and it takes away the excuse of I don't have anyone to practice with.
Mm.
Well, now you do, and it's free. So go to episode.
No, that's a great resource. Okay, so writing.
Another one for writing and vocabulary enrichment would be langeek.com. Langek, langeek.com. Over there, you can practice according to your level. Like you can start learning according to your level if you're A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. And it has got, the beauty of it is it has got all the textbooks as well, vocabulary in terms of textbooks, in terms of test preparation, IELTS as well. So it's actually subscription based, but the thing is the free version is already very good. So the only thing is that the free version, you cannot save your words and stuff. But, I tell my students, save your words in your book. I tell all my students to get a book dedicated for vocabulary enrichment, and then start collecting words and then writing their own thing, creating their own dictionary, I say. So yeah. So using the Language application and then manually keying in, so I feel kind of like accomplishment. I mean, a sense of accomplishment if I get this dictionary, my personal dictionary, and then I can always look to it, later.
I love that our methods actually do align with that
I
too.
was just going to say we also have a way that our clients can create their own dictionary as well. And so when you say this, I'm like, she's 100% right.
Yeah, she's
creating your own dictionary is so helpful. Yeah, incredibly helpful.
We do
and very powerful as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Because all the words that they collected, and then when you're looking back, as I said, you feel a sense of accomplishment, fulfillment, and then you never forget the words anymore because it's in your dictionary. Yeah. And you look at it again and again, and you use that.
As you making your study guide.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what about the dreaded listening? This is one that so many people struggle with.
A lot of people.
So listening is all about focus and catching the words. I would say catching the words, and you don't need to understand everything. You just need to know a technique how to catch the word.
Right.
So the important words, the key words, right?
And then that's why for me it's like let's say from book 8 to book 19, we have got 11 books, and each book has got 4 tests. So all together we have 44 tests for listening and 44 tests for reading. If you do it all, I guarantee that your listening and reading will close up to 8, 8.5, or even 9. I guarantee if you do all of that. Because for my students, I remember she actually, her name is Sally, and she is one of my best students. She got 8.5. But the thing is that only got 5 weeks when she met me before the exam, and she was totally freaked out. And then she was doing everything. She was focusing like the whole day, like the whole month, just in IELTS. And I don't know how she managed that, but in this 5 months, she finished all the 88 tests and she got 8.5.
Wow.
She was
Wow.
freaking, but
With your help, right?
but she is already, very outstanding as well.
Yeah.
But then I really like her effort. No excuse. I only have 5 months. She didn't excuse like that.
Right.
Give excuse like that, and she tried to finish all because she is afraid as well. She want to get the high score as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then she got it.
That's amazing. And to just be able to visualize and to set those goals. Now, Vicky, our last question for you today actually goes around that exact thing. And it is one of the biggest things that we've heard is, hey, I have been doing all of this practice. I have been doing all of this. But the moment I get to the test, I freeze. I do not have the confidence and I just freeze. For the people who are listening, who are experiencing that, what would you say to them?
Absolutely. That's something that I want to say as well. I would say practice in the exam condition. So there are computer delivered tests, CGT, and paper-based tests. For the paper-based tests, I told all my students to print out the answer sheet. So there we have listening answer sheet, reading answer sheet, writing answer sheet. I told them not to do with random A4 or random paper. I will not mark, I will not accept it. Just use it, that paper, print it out, copy, and then, start writing your own answers. And in that way, in the exam, when they got into the exam room, they feel like it's just another test that they're doing because it's the same kind of paper.
So let's take a pause on that really quick. So if I'm understanding, just to reiterate, the best way to become confident with a test is to be acting as if you're always doing a test. And so when you go into the actual test, it's just like you were practicing.
It's kind of like this. And this is another light bulb moment. And I have heard this before, and I know that this is a proven method. This is how I know how professional you are, Vicky, because you are saying all of the things that we have learned. And I love it.
I love that, though. I love that the putting yourself in that situation to where you are taking a test, even in your practice. And
So,
that way it's not a big deal.
Yeah. A perfect example of this is if you study while you're listening to music, and then you take an exam without that music, suddenly your brain's not going to work the same way because
Absolutely.
And I don't know, I don't think you can take your exam with music in your ear. I highly doubt it.
I don't think so too.
Sounds against the rules.
You're not even allowed to bring watches and to the exam room. I mean, there are a lot of, for me, it's that I teach not just how to sit, how to do these things. So I also teach them what they should bring into the test room. So for example, they can bring a thin sweater and a transparent water bottle for them. So I actually give tips like that.
I love that. That's very specific tips.
So it's not just how to do the IELTS test itself. So if I may add one more thing, because I told about paper-based test, right? But in computer-based, if you do computer-based, I would recommend you to take the familiarization test before you go into the exam room. So it's in this way, because I've learned a bit lesson. Because I did paper-based for how many times? 7 times, and computer for 2 times.
Right.
And then my when I switched from paper to computer, I was overconfident. So I got 9 all the time, right? And then my score, actually my reading score just go down to 7.
Wow.
Because I didn't do the familiarization test. So all these experience that I got, my students don't need to suffer because I tell them.
You suffer for them.
You learned it the hard way, so they don't have to learn it the hard way. They get to learn it the easy way through Vicky.
Absolutely.
So that being said, Vicky, I do want to thank you so much for coming on and answering these very difficult questions. Now, if someone wants to work with you, because guys, Vicky is an incredible, not just an incredible human being. I know her personally, and she is such a sweet, incredible human being, but she's a real professional who knows what she's doing, and her students' results really speak for themselves. So, Vicky, how can our listeners work with you? Where do they got to go? What do they got to do?
Um, they can just scan the QR code you see on the on this, and then they'll see all my what is it, the links, Facebook page and everything. So it's the link that they can go and have a look. But I work with the name Vicky Thant Thitsa Aung, and actually you can find that with this logo as well. It's online on Facebook. So this is my page. You can reach me out through. Like you can say that I know you from the Resourceful English Method, and then I can help you with that.
That's
help
awesome. That's right.
To get high scores.
If you guys are meeting Vicky through this podcast, definitely let her know, hey, found you through your podcast. No, honestly, Vicky, this was a big light bulb moments for us, and we are so just to kind of wrap it up. So what we want to do is familiarization tests and making yourself prepared. Make sure that you're using your free resources and from book 8 and above, and make sure that you are going in with a goal. You need that goal.
And be consistent. Yep.
And consistent.
I was miming it. Did you notice consistency?
So one more thing is that the social links is like just not just Facebook. LinkedIn is this name as well. So you can reach me out through LinkedIn.
Brilliant.
Perfect. So search that name that's right above her head.
We'll also put our link in the bio.
You can scan this
Scan the QR code. We will also link your information in our description below, and so they can get directly into contact with you if they need to speak with you.
And thank you so much.
You're welcome. And one tradition that we actually like to do within our podcast that we did with our last speaker was to also, if you could tell us a resource that you love, like not like something necessarily an English thing, but it can be, of course, but a podcast, a book, a movie, anything like that, or maybe even just a famous quote that you live by. What would you like to share with our viewers to help them feel that spark of motivation?
So this quote actually I got from my sister. My sister, she always put that in front of her study desk, and then that's how I got to know that quote, and I kind of inherited it from her. So it's Colin Powell's quote that a dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work.
Wow.
So good luck, everyone.
Thank you so much, Vicky. We appreciate your time, and we hope that everyone who is listening got some motivation, and they are feeling a little bit more confident on how they will move forward with studying IELTS. But if you want true results, of course, the best way to get that is by working with Vicky directly.
Yes. A coach can be completely life-changing for you.
Thank you so much, Taylor and Jeremy. Thank you so much to Married to English and the Resourceful English Method. Love to see you all.
Wow. I hope that conversation was impactful for you, and I hope it was very helpful if you are in the market for looking for some help with the IELTS exam.
And before we go today, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and leave a comment telling us which piece of advice resonated the most with you. We'll see you next time.
Bye.